The Nightly Business Report.
Good evening tonight. No scope for currency printing under new CBSL Act and IMF extended fund facility, says central bank. Sri Lanka granted permission to use more foreign inputs in duty-free apparel exports to UK under revised DCTS. Sri Lankan stock market ends higher as ASPI and S&P SL20 record modest gains amid stable investor sentiment. A Nasdaq and S&P 500 decline as investors sell off overvalued tech stocks amid valuation concerns.
From Studio 24C.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. The Central Bank of Sri Lanka has clarified that no currency printing has occurred under the new CBSL Act and the IMF's extended fund facility. It also dismissed recent social media claims about large-scale money printing as misleading and inaccurate. The Central Bank of Sri Lanka has confirmed that there is no scope for currency printing under the new CBSL Act and the IMF's extended fund facility. It refuted recent claims on social media that the government printed 1.22 trillion rupees, calling such reports fake. The CBSL explained that broad money supply growth is often mistaken for money printing, but it mainly reflects loans granted by the commercial banks and increased foreign assets. Since the new CBSL Act, the bank has not printed money to finance the government budget deficit and has allowed some government securities to mature without repurchase. The gross official reserve level is not a target under the IMF program, though net international reserves are monitored for sustainability. The Cabinet of Ministers has approved a directive requiring secretaries of ministries and institutional heads to connect their systems to the National Cyber Protection Operations Centre for continuous professional support. This move addresses growing concerns over cyber attacks targeting public institutions and financial entities which could disrupt essential services and threaten national security. The National Cyber Protection Operations Centre, overseen by the Sri Lanka Computer Emergency Readiness Forum and the Digital Economy Ministry, operates 24/7 to monitor and respond to cyber threats. The centre also facilitates reporting of malware and unauthorized access attempts. The government aims to strengthen national cyber resilience, protect digital infrastructure, and ensure uninterrupted public service delivery. Starting in 2026, Sri Lanka's apparel exporters can use 100% foreign inputs and still enjoy duty-free access to the UK under the revised Developing Countries Trading Scheme. This change aims to boost Sri Lanka's garment sector, competitiveness and expand trade opportunities with the UK. From 2026, Sri Lanka's apparel exporters will be allowed to use up to 100% foreign inputs while maintaining duty-free access to the UK under the revised Developing Countries Trading Scheme. Previously, tariff-free access required inputs sourced from the South Asian region with processing restrictions. The new rules grant Sri Lanka the same benefits as lower-income countries like Bangladesh, boosting competitiveness in the garment sector. UK officials and industry leaders have praised the reforms, highlighting their positive impact on Sri Lanka's exports and potential to lower prices in the UK market. This move comes as Sri Lanka faces increased tariffs from the US, making the UK market more critical for its apparel industry. Sri Lanka's private sector credit to GDP ratio has been rising since mid-2024, with the credit to GDP gap widening, indicating an expansionary credit cycle. As of March 2025, the credit to GDP ratio stands just below 30%, with the credit gap slightly above 3%, reflecting growing private sector lending. The central bank reports that banking sector assets grew 14.9% year-on-year by June 2025, supported by increased investments and loans, with private sector credit growing 17.9% in the first half of 2025. Despite concerns about overheating, the central bank says the current credit growth follows a period of credit contraction and improved public sector finances, resulting in a crowding-in effect. The positive credit gap remains modest and does not currently signal financial instability. Let's take a short break now. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. The Colombo Stock Exchange ended the day on a positive note, with both the key indices record slight gains. Market sentiment remained steady as the ASPI and S&P SL20 posted modest increases. For further insights, we have Manu Shikandanarachi from First Capital Holdings.
Thank you, Jenna. The Colombo Bourse witnessed a highly volatile trading session driven by heightened investor activity as market sentiment continued to remain strong. The all-share price index closed broadly unchanged at 20,715 in line with the previous close as well. The index gained upward momentum during early trading hours but saw a sharp decline as selling pressure intensified. A gradual recovery followed, supported by bargain buying, which helped the index stabilize by the end of the session. Positive contributors to the index marginally outweighed negative ones, with Dialog, Sunshine, Royal Ceramics, Cooperative Insurance Company and Ambient Holdings leading the way. Retail and high net worth investor participation remained highly active during today's session as well. Turnover accounted at LKR 10.5 billion rupees. This marks a 69-point increase from the monthly average, stands at around LKR 6.2 billion as well. The banking sector dominated today's turnover, contributing nearly 31%, followed by the consumer services sector at 17% and the food, beverage and tobacco sector at 16% as well. Top 3 gainers of the day were Green Tech Energy, Amana Takaful Life and the Candy Hotels Company, whereas the top 3 prize losers of the day were Bogala Graphite Lanka, Ceylon Hospitals and Vidu Lanka PLC. Thank you.
Sri Lanka's banking sector credit is expected to maintain steady growth in the third quarter, supported by improving economic conditions. Banks are likely to continue expanding lending activities cautiously amid ongoing efforts to manage financial stability. For further insights, we have Akna Thennakon from First Capital Holdings.
Thank you, Jenna. The central bank published its credit supply survey recently, where they discussed the credit trends of the most recent quarter and the outlook for the upcoming one. Accordingly, the second quarter of 2025 brought further strength to Sri Lanka's credit landscape. Loan demand continued to climb for the 8th consecutive quarter, supported by lower interest rates, higher wages, the resumption of vehicle imports, and improving business activity. At the same time, banks' willingness to lend also grew, marking a 9th quarter of steady expansion. This was aided by healthy liquidity, economic and political stability, and stronger capital buffers. Asset quality too showed encouraging signs. Non-performing loans declined as flexible repayment options, improved cash flows, and stronger recovery efforts supported borrowers. Loan rejections also eased, suggesting proposals submitted were of a higher quality and more consistent with the bank's lending standard. Looking into the third quarter, the positive trend is expected to continue. Loan demand is likely to strengthen further on the back of stable interest rates, rising consumer confidence, and improving business sentiment. Banks are also expected to remain supportive of lending across retail, SME, and corporate sectors, though credit to state-owned enterprises may be more selectively assessed. Meanwhile, both loan rejections and non-performing loans are projected to decline further in line with the improving economic outlook. Overall, credit supply conditions are moving in step with recovery, pointing to a more supporting environment for growth in the months ahead. Thank you.
Gold prices fell in Asian trade today, pressured by increasing uncertainty over US interest rates as markets digested hawkish signal from the minutes of the Federal Reserve's July meeting. Spot gold fell 0.3% to $3,339.31 an ounce, while gold futures for October fell 0.2% to $3,381.62 an ounce. The yellow metal traded largely range-bound this week as uncertainty over US rates deterred any major trades. Other precious metals were largely muted. Spot platinum fell 0.2% to $1,337.45 an ounce, while spot silver was flat at $37.90 an ounce. Among industrial metals, benchmark copper futures on the London Metal Exchange fell 0.2% to $9,719.45 a ton, while COMEX copper futures fell 0.1% to $4,428 a pound. Oil prices extended gains today, bolstered by signs of strong demand in the US, with uncertainty over efforts to end the war in Ukraine also lending support. Brent crude futures hit a two-week high in early trade and were up 41 cents or 0.61% to $67.25 a barrel. US West Texas Intermediate crude futures rose 45 cents or 0.72% to $63.16 a barrel. US President Donald Trump has announced an additional tariff on 25% of Indian goods from August 27th because of their Russian crude purchase. The European Union has also sanctioned Indian private refiner Nayara Energy, which is backed by Russian oil company Rosneft. The Sri Lankan rupee has depreciated further against the US dollar at commercial banks in Sri Lanka today than compared to yesterday. The Sri Lankan rupee has depreciated most sharply compared to severe regional currencies amid ongoing economic challenges. While some neighboring currencies have remained relatively stable or strengthened, the rupee continues to face pressure due to external debt and foreign exchange constraints. Short break now. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. Vidyalanka PLC has commissioned a 2-megawatt solar plant in Horana, marking the second phase of its Horana solar project. This brings the total company renewable energy capacity to 63 megawatt across 23 operational power plants. Vidyalanka PLC has commissioned a 2-megawatt solar plant in Horana, constructed by its subsidiary Vidul Solar Power Ltd as a second phase of the Horana solar project. The facility has an AC capacity of 2 megawatts and a DC capacity of 2.5 megawatts, capable of exporting approximately 3.6 GWh of clean energy annually to the national grid. The inauguration was attended by Energy Minister Kumarajaya Kodi and other key officials. This project increases Vidyalanka's portfolio to 23 operational power plants with a combined capacity of 63 megawatts in renewable energy. The first phase of the Horana project was completed in June 2023 under the government's 150 megawatt tender program. Xavier 4.0 features all-terrain mobility, autonomous navigation, 3D spatial mapping, rapid aerial deployment, and high-definition imaging. Designed and built entirely in Sri Lanka, it is the first platform of its kind in the region. Consulate highlighted that this innovative places Sri Lanka among a select group of countries globally with such advanced robotics integration. The company views this launch as a significant technological milestone and a testament to the world-class innovation emerging from Sri Lanka. Sampat Bank delivered a strong financial performance in the first half of 2025, posting impressive profit growth amidst challenging market conditions. The bank and the group both recovered a 32% year-on-year increase in profits.
Sampat Bank recorded a profit before tax of 24.4 billion rupees and a profit after tax of 14.7 billion rupees for the first half of 2025, reflecting a 32% year-on-year growth. The group also reported a profit before tax of 26 billion rupees and a profit after tax of 15.6 billion rupees, maintaining the same growth rate. Despite a 6% decline in the interest income to 89.4 billion rupees due to lower lending rates and reduced yields, interest expenses also dropped, resulting in a 6% decline in net interest income to 38.6 billion rupees. Non-funded based income surged by 122% to 15.9 billion rupees, supported by higher fee income and a 2.4 billion rupee exchange gain driven by currency depreciation. Impairment charges fell significantly by 78% to 1.4 billion rupees, reflecting improved credit quality and economic conditions.
SoftLogic Life reported a strong first half of 2025 with a gross written premium of 18.7 billion rupees, a 29% year-on-year increase and the highest absolute growth in the industry. The company achieved a profit after tax of 1.2 billion rupees and a return on equity of 20%, maintaining an 18% market share. Total assets stood at 58.1 billion rupees, with financial investments comprising 84% of assets, and an interim dividend of 4.50 rupees per share was declared. In a landmark move, SoftLogic Life acquired Alliance Life Insurance Lanka Limited, marking the first life insurance company acquisition in Sri Lanka's industry history. Company leaders highlighted the strong performance as a result of focused execution, innovation, and commitment to customers, with optimism for continued growth in the life and health insurance sectors. Empire Tea's PVT Ltd celebrated its 25th anniversary by hosting international partners in Sri Lanka for a series of events showcasing its tea production and cultural heritage.
Empire Teas Private Limited marked its 25th anniversary by inviting global partners to Sri Lanka for celebrations that included tours of tea production facilities, cultural visits, and a gala dinner in Colombo. Guests experience a company's blending rooms, packaging flows, and tea gardens, as well as historic sites like Galle Fort. Traditional performances showcase Sri Lanka's rich heritage during the events. The gala dinner brought together overseas buyers, local partners, and employees to honor long-standing relationships and shared success. Partners from Russia and Gambia praise Empire Teas for its quality, reliability, and strong partnerships.
Let's take a short commercial break. Global business updates coming on the other side. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. The US dollar hovered below a one-week high today, and Asian stock markets were mixed as investors braced for 3 days of potentially market-moving news from the Federal Reserve's annual in Jackson Hole. Japan's Nikkei, which hit an all-time peak on Tuesday, dropped at 0.6%. China's Shanghai Shenzhen CSI 300 and Shanghai Composite Index rose 0.9% and 0.7% respectively. South Korea's Kospi bounced at 0.7%. It dipped to a 6-week low yesterday. Mainland Chinese blue chips gained 0.7%, although Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index slipped at 0.1%. Australia's ASX 200 was among the better performers in Asia, rising 1% to breach at 9,000 points for the first time ever. India's Nifty 50 index rose 0.3%, remaining above 25,000 points after retaking the level for the first time in over a month yesterday. US stocks closed mostly lower, with the Dow ending little change, the S&P 500 shedding about 0.25% and the tech-heavy Nasdaq dropping roughly 2/3%.
U.S. stocks closed mostly lower on Wednesday, with the Dow ending little changed, the S&P 500 shedding about 0.25%, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq dropping roughly 0.2%. Tech stocks have been pulling back after driving much of the recovery from stocks' April sell-off, while sectors such as energy, healthcare, and consumer staples rose. The rotation from growth stocks to value stocks is linked to investors' expectations for lower borrowing costs. Discussion of those rate cuts could come Friday when Fed Chair Jerome Powell speaks from the central bank's annual symposium in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Meanwhile, the Magnificent Seven mega-cap tech stocks all fell on Wednesday, including AI darling NVIDIA, which reports quarterly results next week. And fellow chip makers Intel and Micron Technology dropped 7% and 4%, respectively. Among other movers, Target tumbled more than 6% after the company named a new CEO and retained its annual forecast that had been lowered in May.
Thousands of Airbus workers in Britain will go on a strike for 10 days starting next month over a demand for better pay, threatening to disrupt production of aircraft wings.
Thousands of Airbus workers in Britain will go on strike for 10 days starting next month. The trade union Unite said Wednesday they're demanding better pay. Unite represents more than 3,000 aircraft fitters and engineers at Airbus. It said 90% of its members had voted for industrial action. They said the strike will go ahead unless the European playmaker presented an improved pay offer. Unite said the strikes are planned for September 2nd to 3rd and 10th to 11th and other dates yet to be determined. The union said it could disrupt wing production for Airbus's commercial and military aircraft programs and delay deliveries. Airbus said in a statement, "We are not currently concerned about the impact on year-end deliveries." The playmaker also said it made a competitive and fair pay offer last year, which it said followed previous pay increases totaling more than 20% in the last 3 years. Unite said it had asked Airbus for a pay offer that reflects rising inflation and cost of living.
That wraps up today's Nightly Business Report. We value your opinion. Share your thoughts and feedback with us through email at feedback.ad24english@derana.lk or via WhatsApp at 07680579333. We will see you again tomorrow with the latest updates in the business globe. Vinod Varnasuriya will meet you next with other Derana Sports Central. Until then, I'm Jenna Newman. Thank you for watching and have a great night.